All right, we've all had at least one, that jerk boss. You know, the one who made your life a living hell for no apparent reason. Well, now New Yorkers may soon be able to sue abusive bosses. The state Senate just passed the Healthy Workplace bill. Now, if the bill passes in the state assembly, employees who prove their case could be awarded lost wages, medical expenses, punitive damages, and compensation for emotional distress. And if you think this is no big deal, think about this. Here's a number for you. 37% of workers are bullied at work. 40% never report it. What do you think? Do we need this law, or is this going to lead to frivolous lawsuits? Call us. 1-877-TEL-HLN is the number. Let's go to the phones. Linda wants in. Linda in Oregon, your thoughts?
Yes, hi, Mike.
Hey, Linda.
Oh, my ex-husband worked for a company, and his boss was the company. It was a small home business, and he was brutal. And I remember one Christmas where he shook his hand, and he told him, just remember who your boss is and who pays your wages. It was really a nightmare, and my ex-husband just really almost was at the point of breakdown.
Wow.
And,
did he end up leaving the job?
Yes, he did.
He did?
He's
Wow.
in another...
How about that scene, though? What a Merry Christmas that must have been. Linda, thanks for the call. Joining us to talk about it, criminal defense attorney Joey Jackson. Ann Bremner's back with us as well, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, and Paula Bloom joining us as well, clinical psychologist, as we talk about the effects on people. We just heard from Linda what this can do. Paula, let me ask that. We just heard Linda talking about her ex-husband to the point of meltdown, breakdown. How bad can it get for people?
Oh, it can get really bad. It's interesting. To me, I was sort of thinking, I just saw the Mad Men premiere that happened. I don't know if there are any Mad Men fans. And I was thinking about the way women are treated there, and I can't imagine. That was, what, in the 50s, early 60s? So I think this issue is very similar to kind of where sexual harassment was back then. So I think it's kind of a parallel. But gosh, in the clinic that I work at, I see so many people struggling and feeling bullied and feeling stressed. And the thing I'm noticing is with the economy going bad, people are putting up with a lot more stuff, and they feel like they can't say no. Like, what am I going to do?
Less options out there. Let's get our attorneys in on this. Joey, good law or not? We need this?
I say, Mike, this is the best thing to have happened. 3 cheers for the workers of America. It's about time. Listen, some bosses are out of control, okay? There's a difference between a boss perhaps being rude, maybe being insensitive, and then being outright malicious, inappropriate, and using their job in a sadistic fashion to make an employee's life miserable. I often wondered, being a resident of New York, what the state assembly and state senate do. Now I know. It's about time that they stand up for workers' rights and do something that's going to protect the workers of America.
Okay, Joey's giving 3 cheers, and you give it a rousing boo, right? You don't like it?
I say bad law. It's like we're going to be like an army of plaintiffs and plaintiffs' lawyers. I hate to get down on any lawsuits, but I'll tell you something. Laws are already in place to protect people. We have First Amendment rights of everyone involved. Do you say every job, this is not for the faint of heart, this is not for sissies, so to speak? Look at the military. Look at the police department. Look at our courts. Are you going to come in and say, this guy's mean? What is mean? Mean girls, mean guys? I think my ex-husband's mean. His new wife doesn't think so. It's so subjective. Of course, I was right. But, the fact is you've got this kind of a law that you can't even enforce, and it's not needed, and it's going to have hundreds of thousands of frivolous lawsuits.
Okay.
Think about it. Look.
All right.
Look at HLN.
Ann's saying frivolous
I don't know
lawsuit
about your
there.
bosses.
Bosses are great here at HLN on editorial notes.
Listen, Mike, here's the problem. Look,
go ahead.
The reality is that the reality is that as lawyers, we cannot file frivolous lawsuits. We're prohibited, we're prevented, and we could be sanctioned as attorneys for acting in inappropriate ways, such as filing lawsuits that are baseless and not meritorious. And so, therefore, I think it is not incumbent upon an attorney to file a suit that doesn't have merit.
Right.
Beyond that, though,
let me pick up. In the event that they've been abused, you file it.
Okay, so how are you going to prove this, though, Joey? I think that's an issue here. I mean, because if not me personally, but let's say I witness some bullying and I see the boss bullying somebody a little bit, am I really going to say something? I mean, it's a pretty tough dynamic to prove this,
Actually,
isn't it?
Mike, that's a very interesting thing, because there's a lot of stress that has to do with watching bullying, not even just being the one who has it. There's a lot of studies that show that the person observing the bullying can have a lot of the secondary consequences. So that's actually very interesting.
Okay, so folks are uncomfortable. Joey, how are you going to prove it?
Well, I think in terms of proof, it's like anything else. You have witnesses, you have documentation. Listen, in the event that your work is up to par, it's witnessed by other people, it's constantly witnessed that the boss is berating you, treating you in a disrespectful and inappropriate fashion, there will be people who will come forward and say that. You heard the caller, Linda from Oregon. Her husband was reduced to tears. You're going to see other employees in the workplace who see this, witness this, come forward against it, and finally punish employers for carrying out bad policy in the office by acting in this way. We need to train managers to treat people responsibly so that employees can be more productive.
All right, let's go ahead and rebut that, and let me get a call in.
There's already laws defining harassment, assault, threats, everything else. What my point is this, exactly what you said. How do you know what it is? How do you define it? How do you prove it? It's because it's so amorphous. Bullying, being mean, you're going to have lawsuits from here to eternity that are frivolous. But the law is frivolous, and that's where you can file it.
Gotcha. Let's get a call in. Antonio, Texas, go ahead.
Yes, I just want to say that my current employers, they're no bullies anywhere, and I've been here for 14 years. But I also believe that this should have been a law that should have been passed back since the industrial age of the 1930s, because this has been an escalating problem for over 80 years, and I don't know why it still hasn't changed. Okay.
Antonio, thanks for the call. I think Paula's made that point. She's seeing people, because let's face it, employers are holding more of the cards now when unemployment's at 9.5, and for every open job, there's 5 people going for it. So you're a little less likely to just say, hey, I'm not putting up with this. I'm out of here. Right. We'll pick up the conversation, take your calls, 1-877-TEL-HLN. Sarah wrote this on Facebook. Why are people such namby-pambies? Don't like your boss? Find another job. Okay, that kind of rebuts the point I just made. Jennifer wrote this. I'm an adult employee, not a second-grade student. Show respect to get respect.
You have no brain. No judgment calls are necessary. What you think means nothing. What you feel means nothing. You are here for me. You are here to protect my interests and to serve my needs. So while it may look like a little thing to you, when I ask for a packet of Sweet and Low, that's what I want.
Have you had that boss? That was Kevin Spacey, who played Buddy Ackerman, and an abusive boss. You saw it there in 1995 film Swimming with Sharks. Joss posted this on Facebook, as many of you are chiming in on this. He says, do it like the military. Praise in public, reprimand in private. Well, that from Kevin Spacey, that was in public. That little ripping there. We're taking your calls, 1-877-TEL-HLN. All right, Ann, as we look at that clip, Kevin Spacey teeing off on an employee, what law is on the books to help that employee who's being embarrassed and berated and whatever else falls from that?
The laws that are on the books are basically that you've got threats, harassment, things that are illegal. But free speech, First Amendment, we all have it as Americans, and if he wants to say something like that, then the fact of the matter is you can quit, because it's not actionable. You can actually say you're discriminated against, or it's not a great workplace, etc. There's a lot of laws on the books, but just by content of our speech, if it's not threatening somebody or not in some way illegal, then we can say certain things. You know, and people need, I think, to buck up. I mean, a job is not an entitlement. It's not a right.
Right.
And it's just like turning the channel right now. If someone wants to turn the channel and not listen to me, they can say, I quit.
Please
but
don't.
the fact is that discriminatory?
Please don't.
Mike, can I get in here?
Go ahead, jump in, Paula.
I mean, you just use kind of a circular argument, which is, if it's not illegal, that's the whole point, is that we want to put laws in place that there's consequences to alter this behavior.
But,
you know,
why
harassment is illegal, right? Sexual harassment is illegal because there were laws put on the books. I don't understand.
Right.
Listen, I'm just a shrink. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't really know. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
You shrinks probably know more, but the fact is, there's not a lot. You can't say it's illegal to say to somebody, you know, you're going to get my Sweet and Low and do this. I mean, it's free speech. And harassment is something else.
And with this law, hey, Joey, clear things up. With this law, if it's repeated and malicious, then you've got something, right? As far as taking this to court.
That's the point, Mike. The problem is that it's not one isolated instance like Spacey, you have no brain, you get my Sweet and Low. It's something that happens on a persistent, constant basis where you're just tearing down, demoralizing, and totally destroying the employee. Now you have a basis to do it. This is not about free speech. This is about free speech. You're not going on a corner and proselytizing to anybody. You are destroying your employees by acting in a malicious, mean-spirited way. There is a distinction. The law is necessary. It's needed. It's about